So, the sacred festival of Navratri is officially here, and to kick things off for day one, we've got a really powerful story. We're going to dive into a tale about Mata Shalputri, a story that's all about what you could call a true miracle of faith. But before we get into it, I want to ask you something. Do you think just one day of worship, just one single day, could actually change someone's entire destiny? It sounds like a big claim, right? Well, that very idea is at the absolute heart of the ancient tale we're about to get into.
That's right. Today is the first day of Navratri, those 9 secret nights dedicated to goddess Durga. And day one, it's all about her very first form.
So, who exactly is Mata Shalputri? Well, she's known as the daughter of the Himalayas. And believe me, that name is the absolute key to understanding who she is and the power she holds. Okay, let's take a closer look at her form. What she represents, in one hand, you see she holds a trident. That's all about her power to destroy evil. And in her other hand, a lotus, which represents purity and creation. And look, she's riding a bull, which is why one of her other names is Vrisharudha. It's a symbol of righteousness. But here's the thing. Despite all this incredible power, her nature is described as being extremely calm and simple. And this all connects right back to the meaning of her name. It's actually pretty straightforward. Shail means mountain, and Putri means daughter. Put them together, and Shail Putri literally means the daughter of the mountain king, Himalaya. You can just feel the unshakable strength of the mountains in that name, can't you? All right, now let's get to the story that really shows her grace in action. It's an ancient tale, and it's all about a devout merchant and his two very different sons. So the story starts with this father, a really devout man, whose faith, by the way, had brought him a ton of prosperity. And as his sons grew up and came of age, he did what any fair father would do, right? He split his wealth and his thriving business right down the middle, giving each son an absolutely identical start in life. And this is where their journeys just completely split. Even though they started from the exact same point, the two brothers choose completely different paths. And this choice, it sets up what becomes a pretty profound test of faith. And the results of those choices, they could not have been more different. The elder son, he followed in his father's footsteps, mixing business with devotion, and guess what? His wealth just kept on growing. But the younger son, he was a total skeptic. He thought all that worship stuff was pointless in his business. It just slowly fell apart, leaving him totally broke. This quote from the younger son, man, it just perfectly captures his whole outlook. Anytime his father would try to encourage him, just have a little faith, this was his answer every single time. This is all a waste of time and pointless. For him, success and failure were just luck of the draw. Devotion had nothing to do with it. You can imagine the father, just heartbroken, watching his son's life fall apart. He felt like he'd failed to reach him. So in this moment of both desperation and hope, he turns to his younger daughter-in-law. He's thinking, maybe, just maybe, she could get through to him in a way he couldn't. So the big question is, how on earth could she convince a man who was so skeptical? Well, this brings us right to the climax of the story, his wife's determination and the absolute miracle that came from just a single day's fast. Now, she was smart. She didn't come at him with arguments or facts. Instead, she made a really simple emotional appeal. She basically said, look, I've always listened to you. Can't you just listen to me for one day? And, cornered by her love and that simple logic, he couldn't really say no. He reluctantly agreed, and the condition was that they would observe the very first fast of Navratri together. And yep, that was the deal. Just one day. He wasn't doing it because he suddenly believed, not at all. He was just keeping his promise to his wife. He was going to go through with one day of rituals that, in his mind, were a complete and total waste of time. But what happened next? Well, it was something else. It was truly miraculous. After they finished the fast, did the worship for Mata Shalputri, the son went to his business, probably expecting nothing. And on that very same day, for the first time in years, he made a massive, unheard-of profit. And this is important. It wasn't just about the money. This was a massive wake-up call for him. The way the story puts it is just beautiful. It says his eyes of wisdom were opened. It was like a switch flipped. And suddenly, all those things his father had told him for years just came rushing back. He finally got it.
He understood the connection between faith and fortune that his dad had been trying to get him to see all along. And that right there, that brings us to the real point of the story. It wasn't about him getting rich again. No. The real reward was wisdom gained through faith. The ultimate prize wasn't the cash. It was sadbuddhi, which basically means, right understanding or true wisdom. So, what are the big lessons we can pull from this? Well, first, it seems that true faith, even if you start out with just a tiny bit, can actually lead to something. I mean, the son's one-day act, which he only did to make his wife happy, was enough to get the ball rolling. Second, the story tells us that Mata Shalputri is a benevolent force who looks out for her devotees. And here's the really crucial part. Devotion isn't about choosing between things. It can lead to both wisdom and prosperity, which of course brings us all the way back to that first question we asked. It seems, even one single day of sincere worship really can change a life. And so this incredible old story leaves us with a question to think about in our own lives. What does true faith really mean to you? Whether that's faith in a higher power, or faith in other people, or just plain faith in yourself. It's a powerful thing to think about. Thanks so much for joining me